All right, well, good morning, everyone. We'll make a start. Thank you, councillors, for your attendance. Thank you, officers, ELT, CEO, all in attendance today here. And you'll see those of us that can, and certainly the live streamers that have joined us from the start. We have Councillor Curtis, who's actually joining us this morning via a virtual presence in the room, so we'll acknowledge her just as a bit of a sound check in a moment. So, Councillor Curtis, can you see and hear us?
Mayor Hayes, I can see and hear you.
You can hear you loud and clear too. Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Councillors, we did have a leave of absence from Councillor Cypher, but she's graced us with her presence today, which is infinitely better. So she won't be needing that. You can put that back in the bank, Councillor Cypher. But thank you for your attendance here today, Gay. I don't believe we have any apologies today, therefore. But councillors, I would ask you, and in busy times, is there any leave of absence that's required going forward? All good? Very good, thank you. That's a full complement. Councillors, on behalf of us all, I extend certainly the usual acknowledgement of country before we meet at our meetings here today and through our organisation. We acknowledge the traditional owners of this land on which we meet in their association with this part of Queensland, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We have some very special guests here in the boardroom, and I guess some instructions just before we get there. This morning, I think we've been extended an invitation by Ruth Hayden from our galleries, Connected Communities team. Obviously, I suppose, if it can be such a thing, the peak event for those that follow art in the Emerald region. They had the Emerald Art Awards conducted last Friday night. So the opportunity is there this morning to have our morning tea in the gallery, and obviously to see, I think, about 132 entries, Ruth, and obviously of significant quality and participation of all age groups. I think there was 7 or 8 categories there, 3 major ones and some youth categories. And obviously the important prizes, so it'll be very interesting to share some time down there. Obviously lunch will be around about 11:45 to 12, thereabouts. So obviously councillors, please stay around for that. But I guess, as I said, we have some important guests in the room this morning, and they are Ebony and Matthew. Ebony Lee is from the Uniting Church, and she was going to be accompanied by Tony Simmons this morning, but Tony's actually been doing a great job in looking after his mother-in-law, which is an important role, can I say, for any good man. But Ebony is here this morning to certainly lead us in prayer and some thoughts before she starts, and Matthew will assist where possible. So Neil, if you can just assist Ebony with her microphone, and you're all good with that? Beautiful.
Far more skill out than I have.
Exactly right. I was just going to say there's a conundrum for you straight off the bat, but welcome, Ebony, and certainly thank you for leading us this morning.
So I'd love to start this morning with a Bible verse that we selected from 1 Timothy 2, verses 1 to 4. It says, "I urge then first of all that petitions, prayers, intercession and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. This is good and pleases God our Saviour, who wants all people to be saved and to come to a knowledge of the truth." Please join with me as I pray. God, we thank you for men and women who serve our town and our country in leadership roles, and for their families. Please provide our leaders with reminders each day of why they decided to dedicate their lives to public service, and use that commitment to encourage them. Give them peace when their work takes them away from their families. We are so grateful for the staff of our leaders, Lord. They have such an important job keeping the offices running as they should. Thank you for the ways you have gifted them to support so well. Wrap your arms around these men and women to show them love, grace, strength and encouragement. Provide them with the knowledge needed to approach each situation in the best way possible. Help them to know you and see your presence in the work that they do. And Father, give them the stamina to approach each day and to find a balance between work and life so that they would be sustained. Father, we're so grateful to be living in a democracy where many play a part in making sure the needs and desires of our people are heard and met. As our leaders work together to find solutions to difficult problems, we ask that you guide them to speak respectfully and with humility to one another, help them to show Christ-like love to those they interact with, and be an advocate for all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Ebony. And pass our regards on certainly to Tony and certainly your church, and thank certainly the churches together for this commitment they make. It's always a great surprise and a great pleasure when we know each meeting that we're going to have someone actually lead us off, and it's surprising, I say, on a number of occasions how sometimes the little prayer and the leading is obviously very apt to the work we're doing. So thank you very much, Ebony.
Thank you, Kerry. It's nice to know that my children are growing up in a generation where this is still taking part. That's lovely. Thank you.
No, thank you, Ebony. Yep. You can go unless you'd like to stay and participate. You could be acting general manager of finance if you'd like.
No, I think for everyone's focus,
Yep.
I think it might be best if I...
No, Ebony. Sometimes, Ebony, we're grateful for that distraction. Don't worry. No, that's fine, Ebony.
Well, yes, I just know that in church lots of people don't really focus on the sermon because they're focusing on other things.
No, Ebony, there's children always welcome in this place. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Ebony. No, that's fine, Ebony. No, it's fine, yeah. Thank you. All right, Council, I think we are grateful for this distraction sometimes, so I say that in all generosity. Councillors, back to the hard part of our agendas, which is the confirmation of the previous minutes, and those minutes of the General Council meeting from the 29th of July. Would someone like to move those? Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Brimblecombe. We'll just, as we normally do, just check those, please, to make sure that you're happy with those. That involves some fees, some changes to our fees and charges register. I think there we had endorsed our local disaster management plan. All right, councillors, it's been moved and seconded. Are people happy with those? All in favour? Councillor Curtis has acknowledged that she's voting in favour. Against? Thank you, councillors. Carried. Any business arising out of those minutes? So, councillors, I think we can see that our next agenda item relates to the upcoming agenda items. That's actually included in your agendas, and review of those meeting actions. And I think you'll find that most of the meeting actions actually follow pretty closely. And there is a process about any additional agenda items you want to get on that you're aware of. So unless there's some burning issues there, we'll move to the next one, which is any conflicts of interest, councillors, in our today's agenda.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I had my button pressed for.
Oh, sorry, my apologies,
yeah.
Councillor Moriarty.
I just, excuse my croaky voice. Look, if I'm allowed to, I just wanted to say, when I had a look at the disaster management plan, I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone involved in that, and Glenn Bell for leading that. It's very comprehensive, and also I think people probably don't realise the list of sub-plans that underpin that plan as well are very comprehensive and extensive. I just wanted to say congratulations, and I know it gives myself peace of mind to know that Council is doing such an amazing job in that area. So just want to pass on my congratulations.
All right, thanks, Councillor Moriarty. And if Glenn's not watching this via live stream, we'll certainly pass it on, John. So thank you very much, Councillor Moriarty. Conflicts of interest, is that? Councillors, anything in the agenda? And if not, obviously, any conversation or discussion that goes to a place where you're not comfortable, just make it known, and it can be recorded. That is obviously the most important thing. Now, CEO, we don't have any petitions?
No, ma'am.
I just, it was interesting. My daughter called me from Mackay, where she lives, and as the what would you call her, the convener or the author of a petition at her local council. She called up, and it was interesting just to note, and I say this only for noting, their council has a process there, and I'm sure we have it here, that they have a system of allowing people to speak to their petitions. So my daughter got to speak for 3 minutes to the Mackay City Council. I did get a phone call from Mayor Greg Williamson about a couple of hours later. I'm sure it was all good, but he's certainly just acknowledging that perhaps there might have been a small chip off an old block somewhere. So anyhow, I guess it is interesting they do get to speak to those petitions. So, councillors, we move to our decision action reports, and I note the first one is our operational plan, 22-23, and that comes certainly under the hand of our CEO and certainly Manager of Governance, Maggie Hoekstra. And she has a guest with her today, but I'll let the appropriate introductions be done. Our CEO might introduce this agenda item. Thanks, Sharon.
I'll introduce our Interim Manager of Governance, Ross Higgins, who's come for a bit of a handover pending our Manager Governance, Maggie, departure in 2 weeks. So welcome, Ross, to Central Highlands Regional Council. Thank you for coming along and helping us out. We're very grateful to have your experience as an ex-CEO and indeed someone who has done a lot of work in governance, and I look forward to learning from you as much as working with you. So thank you very much for joining us. This report's authorised actually by our Acting General Manager Corporate Services. So I'll hand to you, Clinton.
Thanks, Sharon and Mr Mayor. Through the Chair, so this report presents to Council its operational plan for 2022-23 for adoption, and I'll look to hand over to our Manager of Governance, Maggie, to take us through the report.
Thank you, Acting General Manager Nicole Dixon. Through the Chair, good morning, Mayor and Councillors. The report before you today is to present for Council adoption the Central Highlands Regional Council Operational Plan 22-23. In accordance with the Local Government Regulation 2012, Section 1741, the Council is required to prepare and adopt an annual operational plan for each financial year. Council's operational plan for 22-23 sets out the key activities that Council will undertake during the 22-23 financial year to progress the implementation of Council's 5-year corporate plan of 2022 to 2027. Council's operational plan for 22-23 is found in the report at attachment 1 on page 165 of Council's business papers. The operational plan has been structured according to the 6 themes and the respective key strategies that are presented in Council's corporate plan of 2022-27. Using this structure, the activities planned for delivery in 22-23 have been presented and aligned in the operational plan under each of the key strategies. A high-level mapping of each activity to the 7 long-term destination goals is also included in the plan. Further, the plan also highlights those activities that are considered to contribute to the delivery of more than one strategy. This is to recognise that some of our activities will impact across multiple strategies, not just one strategy. The operational plan also recognises the importance of Council's significant capital works program and its contribution in progressing several of our key strategies. Hence, where it is relevant, the strategy in the operational plan includes a reference to Council's Capital's Work Program of 2022 to 25 that was approved in Council's 2022-23 budget. There's been extensive consultation and workshops held with councillors and Council's executive leadership and management teams in developing the plan. I'll take the report as read. Subject to Council's adoption of the operational plan today for 22-23, it is proposed to publish the document on Council's website to inform the community of Council's work program. A media release has also been prepared to promote this document. The adoption of this operational plan, as I've said, will ensure that Council meets its legislative requirements. This is the end of my report. I commend the operational plan to you. I'm happy to answer any questions that Council may have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Maggie. And I guess it would be remiss of us not to mention that clearly in the knowledge that this will be your last operational plan, I'm sure you'll deliver to us. Thank you very much for this work, and we'll obviously get the opportunity of thanking you down the line, but obviously in accordance with certainly the corporate plan work and then the subsequent operational plan work, I think all of us agree that it's been a tremendous process, one which has allowed a lot of participation, and I think, and clearly when that's the case, there's a lot of ownership at the end of it, and I think it's been a great plan. So I didn't know whether you wanted to add anything, CEO, as an observation.
Thank you, Mayor. So the operational plan each year will be a really important way, obviously, of progressing us towards the 5-year corporate plan destination goals. It's modelled off the corporate plan, so the structure of the operational plan directly links to the corporate plan, and that's to provide the first step towards all of our team, our extensive staff team, knowing how to connect the work that they do right through to the goals that we have aspirationally as a council for our community. And so therefore the operational plan, along with the separate capital works program, are the two major documents, sets of documents that set out how we will work year by year towards the achievement of the corporate plan. And so I commend the plan to you, Council.
Yeah. Thank you, CEO, and I apologise for the putting you on the spot there, but I guess as I said, as the ownership of this starts to permeate and the operation of it starts to actually work, I mean, we will all obviously speak of it pretty much literally off the tip of our fingers. Councillor Moriarty, you have a question or a comment here?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've just got a couple of comments and then a question. I just wanted to say thank you very much to everyone that's involved in putting the operational plan together. It would be remiss of me not to say thank you to my fellow councillors and everyone, because I was away again. So I just wanted to say thank you for that, because I always think that the operational plan, our quarterly reports, a very important balanced report card back to our community regional community and communities. So thank you very much for that. And also I was really pleased to see economic development featured throughout the corporate plan as well, and CHDC, or Central Highlands Development Corporation, integrated more into our operational plan. So I thank you all for that, because economic development is so important, and so it's a great work that they do. And I know that you know, we've got listed in there under point 007 on page 169 of the minutes, and page 4, the corporate planning, performance and reporting framework. I know that we've sort of been making some changes to that in a few different ways, so it will be good going forward to actually work on that collectively, and hopefully just wanted to make sure that another point about the operational plan. I was just so thrilled when I seen the strategy action plan that the second column, if you like, filled out, and it's very, very clear which plans and which strategies all of the activities relate to. So I thought that was thank you all for that improving all the time. And I know this is a bit of a rhetorical question, but obviously just to confirm that looking at our operational plan, for people to know that this is the 2022-23, and even though it's got the 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 7 years, that this is how that integrates with the headings in the corporate plan, as the CEO said. So that's really my question, just to clarify, because I think that that might be a bit, if people look at it, just to have that clarification, it's just for the 1 year, and that's how it links back.
You can answer that. Ma'am, you've got a comment there.
Thank you. Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Moriarty, for those positive comments and also for the points of clarity. So the intent has been that for each of our strategies, as you see, we have our strategy heading under theme, and then the structure includes all of our activities linked back to every single particular key strategy. And then we've also sought to map those activities across the 7 goals. So the 7 destination goals are there, and we've mapped those as well at the highest order. So again, recognising that many of these activities will contribute to more than one particular goal as well. And we then also sought to map where the strategies and the activities may fit, where there's multiple activity, multiple strategy linkages. So we've tried to make that really clear. We'll ensure that when we communicate to community that it is a 22-23 corporate plan, annual operational plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moriarty. Well, thank you. And I note, Councillor Moriarty, your recognition certainly of Councillor's contribution to this. It's been a great participatory agenda item for all of us, as it should be, and certainly as our officers have commended it to us. I think we've had the opportunity of participating in it quite well. The recommendation is there that we adopt that operational plan for the 22-23 year, as you correctly point out, as presented. So is someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Cypher, seconded by Councillor Carpenter. All in favour? And Councillor Curtis has indicated she's in favour. Against? Carried. Councillors, thank you. Excellent. Thank you very much, Maggie. It won't be the last time we'll see you, but certainly thank you. Councillors, the next agenda item is 12.5.1, which is in relation to the Local Government Association of Queensland Annual Conference. CEO, I think this is genuinely under your hand.
Thank you, Mayor. So the annual conference of the Local Government Association of Queensland, the 126th, very long-lived organisation, which we're lucky to have, is being held in Cairns this year in October, 17th to the 19th of October. As is our usual practice, we seek to have a council resolution as to who will represent council at the local government at the conference, and so the recommendation is there that it is the Mayor, the Deputy Mayor, councillors to be identified today, and myself.
Thank you, Sharon. Councillors, as is often the case with the preparation for these conferences, Marnie provides to us obviously some, I guess you'd say, preliminary logistics. Cairns is actually quite a problematic place for us to get to in terms of we usually have to fly back to Brisbane and then fly to Cairns, and a lot of the connecting flights, and I'm making this presumption on the fact we're going to consider obviously attending this, is quite problematic. So there is actually sort of some weekend flying involved. So Marnie, you might explain that a little bit if you wanted to. I'm only doing this because I guess people need to understand the logistics, and we've got commitments we need to make. So go ahead, Marnie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When researching for this report, I found it was quite difficult to fly to Cairns. If you were to fly to Cairns on the Sunday, you won't get there till 10 o'clock at night. So there's possibility that you may need to fly to, depending on if you want to do some personal development training on the Sunday, you may need to fly to Brisbane on Sunday, overnight in Brisbane, then fly to Cairns early to be there in time for this, the conference start time. Alternatively, if you wanted to drive to Cairns, which some people may be considering, there's that option as well. And flying back, again, that's problematic, that you may need to do an overnight, leave the conference, get to Brisbane late on the Wednesday night to fly back to Emerald on Thursday to be back at work or whatever you need to do. So it's not as easy as we think it is to fly to and from Cairns. It's yeah, bit of overnight stops along the way, or driving. It's about 900 kilometres one way, so it is a whole day's drive.
All right, certainly, Councillor, I don't want that to be too deterrent. It was just more a case of the lead-in. Obviously, the few days of the conference actually turns out to be some quite longer logistics around getting there and getting back. So The recommendation is there that certainly that the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor attend. I think, Councillor Roth, you're thinking about driving, I thought? Yeah, sorry, anyway, okay, we'll get to you. Sorry, go, Councillor Daniels.
I was going to say I would like to attend.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Councillor Daniels, you'd like to attend? So Councillor Roth, you were thinking of driving?
Yes, Mayor, I did suggest that I drive, but it won't be my private car this time because I thought that my husband might have been able to come with me, but he doesn't want to. So, but I still suggest that to actually drive up, even if we overnighted in Charters Towers or somewhere, it's far better off than. And if you've got 3 or 4 in a car, it's quite an easy drive because it's only 3 hours driving each.
Yep.
So, it makes sense to me, but that's...
Yeah, I'd certainly be interested in doing the trip with you, so.
Thanks.
I guess we can work that out. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, we just need to keep in mind that on the Thursday, the 20th of, I think it's the 20th of October off the top of my head, there is the Gindy opening in the afternoon on the Thursday. So if you're driving, we'll need to keep that into consideration that the Mayor will actually need to be back for that opening, and just for councillors to be aware that there's that opening as well.
Right. We'll work around it. So, folks, we've got Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Daniels. Is there any others? Councillor Carpenter? All good? All right, councillors. Well, that recommendation is there. So it'll be Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Councillors Daniels and Carpenter. Someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Byrne, seconded Councillor Brimblecombe. Oh, sorry. I just missed you, Councillor Curtis. I will keep my eyes... I saw a kangaroo out of the corner of my eye. So it's been moved and seconded. Councillors, all in favour? Councillor Curtis has indicated she's in favour. Against? Thank you, councillors. It will be a very interesting conference. And certainly, as probably optimistically, the biggest contributor of motions to the... I'm going to speculate here, but at the conference, we'll certainly be there to prosecute our arguments. But thank you. Councillors, our next section moves to information reports, and the first is a record of proceedings for our Central Highlands Art and Cultural Advisory Committee, I guess affectionately known as CHACAC. So that sits certainly under returning General Manager John McDougall, who might just give us a little update on Maggie McDougall's outcomes in her World Championship titles. Thank you, John.
Jeepers, put me on the spot, Mr Mayor. Good morning, councillors. Very proud to say my middle girl, Maggie, was recently over in France participating in the World BMX Championships, and she came 24th out of 66 competitors. So very, very proud of her. Yeah, so it was amazing, and just want to take this chance to say thank you to all the support and kind words, and yeah, it's been quite overwhelming, to be honest, so thank you very much.
I appreciate that, John, and well done to Maggie.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, on to business. Thank you, staff, for coming in this morning, and through you, Mr Chair, the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, known as CHACAC, is a council committee established to encourage the participation and optimum service delivery for council communities regarding the areas of arts, cultural and heritage programs, projects and activities. I'll now pass over to our Arts and Cultural Officer Galleries, Ruth Hayden. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you, General Manager McDougall, through the Chair. This report presents minutes of the CHACAC meeting on the 15th of July 2022, held at Emerald Council offices and via online Microsoft Teams. Key items for noting are that updates were provided to the committee about the budget allocation for the 2022-23 financial year, and key projects of interest were highlighted. Planning for Arts Around August 2022 was well underway, with a number of workshops being planned by council across the region. These include Lego art, barbed wire, quirky wire art and circus workshops. These events and a range of other arts and cultural activities can be found listed in the Arts Around August calendar on the council website. With the new Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Action Plan for 2022-24 now endorsed, the committee discussed the ideas for future planning of activities listed in the plan. New processes were endorsed to provide written updates to the committee related to standing items ahead of meetings so that more time in the meetings can be dedicated to planning and discussions. I'll now hand over to councillors for any questions.
All right. Thank you very much, Ruth. And I guess we should acknowledge you at the start of your presentation for obviously a wonderful event last Friday night. And I obviously attended the Blackwater Art Society event the next evening with Katarina and friends. And it's just the incredible feedback, I guess, in acknowledging council support, certainly of arts, and not just Arts in August, but certainly that support that they certainly feel, and there's a real collegial vibe, I guess you'd say, to use the word of the day, starting to happen certainly around art, and it was great that we were acknowledged there, and they certainly had a good roll up there, but certainly the event here, and thank you, and I acknowledge Councillor Cypher for her contribution to there's a beautiful setup that we have here in that wonderful forecourt, and I did acknowledge that Councillor Cypher does it all on her own, literally, gets the tables and chairs and table runners and the decorations and the whole thing. So it just provided a really, really nice atmosphere, and it was greatly appreciated by all of those there. Can I also note, if we're appropriate, with your leave, Ruth, that Councillor Cypher did actually pick up an award herself for her artwork, not just for her contribution to the external part. So forget about all those other winners. Councillor Cypher actually picked up an award. So, but I know this is effectively, certainly some lead up and work that it relates to it. So, councillors, if you have questions or comments, or I see Councillor Burns chaired that meeting. If there's any other comments you'd like to make. All good? You'll have to ask Councillor Moriarty, sorry.
Thank you. But I did, Mayor, you did acknowledge Councillor Cypher, and I noted her artwork getting an award, which was fantastic. And I just wanted to say thank you very much to a very small team that do an awful lot of work, not just in one community, but across the region. And arts and culture activities bring people together to build our social capital and make us more resilient communities. So thank you very much to everyone involved. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Moreno. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. There was lots of wonderful winners down there. I really can't accept too much grace for my little contribution. And also, I'd just like to note that each year that I do the setup down there, I have many, many people that offer to help. It is by choice because I'm so pedantic that I do it myself. So I even had people on the street coming in to offer to help me. So please, I don't deserve any acclamations for actually doing that. It's something I love to do, and I love to do it by myself. So, but thank you for those kind words, Kerry.
Thank you. No, thank you, Councillor Cypher. It was much appreciated. It was a lovely atmosphere out there, and it was really a great night. So, Councillor Rolfe.
Mayor, can I just make comment about Screen Queensland? At the Bush Council's conference in Buck Alden recently, we had a session with, and I can't remember the lady's name just off the bat, but it was about Screen Queensland. She was from Screen. Yeah. Starts with an L. Anyway, but it was really, really insightful, and we did ask the question about our rough country, I suppose, at the bottom of our region, because they really highlight the use of the mountains around Cloncurry and Winton for their movies and screen productions, and it was just it was very insightful.
Gina Black.
Gina Black.
Yep.
That's got nothing to do with Elle, has it? So, but it was really quite something. So it'd be really good to have them sort of come along, and they say they have done work in our region, but I'm not sure when. So
I can respond to that. Thank you,
Go, Kat.
Councillor Roth, through the chair.
Just pull that over a little bit closer, Kat, because we've got some online people and they just need to hear. Thank you, Kat.
So we have been in contact with Screen Queensland in the last few weeks. However, the designated officer in Screen Queensland who does the film-friendly councils, there's a kind of interim gap in that position at the moment. So the person that we were previously aware of is no longer in that position, and they've got a new person starting, I think, in the coming weeks. So we've kind of registered our interest there, and they'll be back in contact with us once that person is kind of inducted and settled in that role. So we are wanting to pursue that and I guess get a bit of an idea of what is required and what are the things that we should be looking at in terms of how to progress that. And the committee is very interested in what we can do, what they can do as a committee and what we can do as council to help progress that. We are intending as well to get in contact with CHDC because I know they have a lot of content related to their tourism branding and whatnot that would be very relevant in terms of showcasing the region from a film perspective as well. So once we are in contact with them and the right person within the organisation will be looking at, you know, what is required, what needs to be done to be able to, I guess, put council out there in that space, and then be looking at, you know, how we might resource that or what might be the next steps from there.
Because some of the stuff that Gina was saying was about it's not just going and doing screenplays or movies and what have you in an area, but the fact that they had to build accommodation for a couple of hundred people and that sort of stuff as well in Winton. So it's not just about going out there and making movies. It's actually the whole that people just love to see the sets and as well. Yeah, tourism. It's a real benefit, I think. It'd be great to see it.
And that's why we're wanting to connect with CHDC on that, because we know there's going to be an economic and industry development piece that goes along with that to be able to support the, you know, that listing and being able to promote the region. It's not just about having local actors or locations, it's about having carpenters who can build sets and people who work in finance who can help with payroll and all of those bits and pieces that kind of feed into it. And we're very lucky that we have a filmmaker on the committee who's able to provide some really great advice around that and who's really eager to help us progress that. So we're kind of pointed in the right direction. We'll just need to wait until all of those positions are filled so that we know where we're headed next.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councillor Roll. All right, well, the recommendation is, councillors, that we receive these recorded proceedings of the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee for the 15th July. Someone happy to move those? Moved by Councillor Carpenter, seconded Councillor Moriarty. All in favour? Councillor Curtis has indicated she's voting in favour. Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you very much, Kat. Thank you, Ruth. And staying there, Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Action Plan, which is our next agenda item.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through the Chair, the Arts and Cultural team will be delivering a summary of the progress made on the Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Action Plan over the 2-year lifespan, highlighting actions over the last 6 months. I'll now hand over to Katerina Hatzi-Panagiotis, Coordinator Arts and Engagement, and Ruth Hayden, Arts and Cultural Officer Galleries, to tell you more. Over to you. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, General Manager McDougall. Through the Chair, I'm excited to be sharing with you, we're excited to be sharing with you today a summary of the overall delivery of the Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Action Plan 2020 to 2022 financial years, highlighting actions since our last report 6 months ago. The Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Action Plan 2020-2022 financial years provides a framework to recognise and celebrate the unique and quintessential Central Highlands character and its creative communities. The plan is facilitated by the Arts and Culture team, connected communities and other council staff. We are supported by the Central Highlands Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, known as Chrc, and we are also assisted by volunteers. It supports the Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Strategy, which spans 2016 to 2026. On 15th of June 2022, Council endorsed the new action plan to span the next 2 years from 2022 to 2024. There are 6 strategic priority areas that are used as a framework to deliver on identified outcomes to the strategy and action plan. They are consolidation and revitalisation, community and celebration, regional identity and sense of place, positive partnerships, celebrate diversity and future direction. We will now report on the progress of each of the strategic priority areas. Our progress targets were to reach 100% for achievement for each of these strategic priority areas. Priority 1, consolidation and revitalisation. This is our largest action plan area, which aims to improve and revitalise regional direction. Over the life of the action plan, we have achieved 90% of our actions. Actions we achieved in the last 6 months are online consultations held for the People's Choice Awards voting at the Springsure and Youth Awards, art activities in the gallery during the Twilight Markets, including an Indigenous art activity in June in conjunction with Camille Swallow's exhibition, interactive painting station in the Emerald Art Gallery during the Sunflower Festival exhibition, continued home library service and library tech savvy seniors sessions, exhibition and program calendars for art galleries scheduled for at least 12 months in advance. Emerald is fully booked for both local, regional and touring exhibition, and Springsure has one space left to fill in early 2023. Paint touch-ups on the gallery walls and plinths as needed, improvements to the gallery storerooms, including an exhibition hanging tool trolley and tools such as a cordless drill. Actions not complete, which account for the remaining 10%, are the former Springsure Hospital Museum works. These works were unable to be completed as emergency stabilisation was first required. Stabilisation works need time to settle before further structural work is undertaken. Roof works are due to progress this financial year, and continued work on the Springsure Hospital Museum has been included in the new action plan. The Dingo History Room lighting was the second component of works to the Dingo History Room after the installation work was completed. Lighting has not progressed due to staffing constraints. Technical advice is being sought to determine the direction for future planning. The images we've got here are Sharon Kirk and our Judge Naomi White for the Springsure Art Awards, actually with her piece in limbo. And the next one is the Blackwater Art Society exhibition in Springsure. That was the opening night. The interactive painting station we held in the gallery for the Sunflower exhibition and the artworks that came out of it. And the Youth Awards down the bottom there on the right was that's Sarah Riley with her. She was one of the winners for the 3D artworks with Judge Kim Eadie. We've also highlighted Central Highlands Gallery Facebook page, which has had a visitation increase of 18.2% in the last 6 months. This year we have utilised the Have Your Say Central Highlands platform to conduct our People's Choice Awards voting for both the Annual Art Awards Springsure and the Youth Awards. Using Have Your Say was a way of combating limitations that COVID-19 placed on gallery visitation during that time. The online voting has been so successful that we are now adopting this format for all of our awards voting. The second strategic objective is community and celebration, which encourages consultation, cooperation and participation in community arts and cultural activities and programs. In this area, we have achieved 100% of our target. Community celebrations include our Artists in the Spotlight videos, which are all available on the Council website and YouTube channel. Featured were the Gemmy Quilters. I met with the Gemmy Quilters group who talked about how often they get together and the kinds of activities they do during their weekly meetings. They're a very friendly and welcoming group of ladies. It was a really fun day, actually. Camille Swallow, she has a story for each and every one of her paintings. So this video was about capturing some of those stories and Camille's arts practice, which ran in conjunction with her exhibition in May and June this year. And Lynn Labour Armat, she was unable to come and have an opening for her exhibition due to COVID-19. So we conducted an online interview where I got to have an in-depth conversation with Lynn about her arts practice and her background as an artist. Another celebration includes assessment panellists for Rockhampton Museum of Art's Artist in Resident program, one of which was awarded to our annual Art Awards Springshaw Acquisitive Prize winner, Sharon Kirk. CQ Rasen meet and greet with Wanda Bennett. Multicultural program including Indigenous painting activity in the Emerald Art Gallery during the Twilight Markets, which was very well received. Promotion of the Capella Pioneer Village Heritage Day, which is coming up on the 10th of September 2022. Ongoing utilisation of the gallery's mailing list for monthly newsletters and other relevant opportunities. And presentation of our biannual action plan updates to Council that we are sharing with you today. Priority 3 is regional identity and sense of place. To promote community identity, cultural tourism and the heritage unique to the Central Highlands, to encourage visitors to our local towns and surrounding areas to boost the regional economy. In this area, we have achieved 95% of our overall target. Highlights over the last 6 months include Chrc meetings in February, April and May, history call-out sessions at the library, 25 new heritage items digitised, and these and other historical records available via library catalogue, annual art, cultural and heritage network opportunities and promotion, cultural heritage compliance support. The one action not complete, which accounts for the remaining 5% of the is the promotion of Council's public art via a virtual map. Given the developments in the tourism branding over the last 2 years, and to encourage widespread use of the map, hosting on the Council website is likely not the ideal location for the data. We will continue discussions with CHDC to determine the best solution for where to house this information. This is included in the new action plan. The images displayed here are digitised items that have been added to the library collection and are publicly available via Montard, the library catalogue. These images are of Fairburn Dam construction spanning 1970 to 1974. I'll now pass over to our Coordinator Arts and Engagement, Kat, to run through our remaining areas.
Thank you very much, Ruth. Through the chair, our fourth priority area is positive partnerships to foster strategic partnerships to improve and enrich arts and cultural communities. We've achieved 95% of our target by partnering with Arts Queensland, who have granted Council $39,500 for the RADIF program each year of the action plan, the highest amount that Council has received for the program. Promotion of grant funding opportunities for RADIF and other external grant opportunities through our gallery's monthly newsletters and Facebook posts. Arts Around August was used as a platform to promote art activities ranging from quirky wire art, Lego art, youth art workshops, comedy shows, exhibition openings, glass workshops and more in a variety of venues across the region. The Emerald Art Gallery was open to visitors during the Twilight Markets in March during Elena Chirilova's exhibition and June during Camille Swallow's exhibition, which saw over 400 visitors come through the space and our hosting of our Indigenous art activity. Frequently updating our gallery's Facebook page with upcoming events and exhibitions happening in the galleries and the wider artist community. The platform also promotes other opportunities further afield to keep our community connected with the arts and cultural sector beyond our borders. The one action not complete, which accounts for the remaining 5%, is related to the CQ Rasen partnership programs, which we had committed to 2 projects over the span of the action plan. We were able to execute one program in the 2021 year, which was the Little Bird postcard project, which we had in the Emerald Art Gallery. However, in 21 to 22, due to the limited functions of CQ Rasen with their reduced staffing and funding uncertainty, there were no partnership opportunities available, and we continue to work with CQ Rasen going forward. Photographs here are of one of our successful RADIF projects that was completed in the last 6 months, which is the Emerald Pottery Club's autumn wheel throwing workshops. In 2021, the club secured funds through Council's Community Grants program to purchase 5 pottery wheels. The club then applied for RADIF funding to bring Bailey Griffin, a Townsville-based ceramicist, to Emerald to facilitate wheel throwing workshops over 2 weekends. Participants learnt wheel throwing techniques for different forms such as plates and cylinders, and then in the second weekend learnt to throw a mug including handles. The workshops were fully booked and participants left excellent feedback. Priority Area 5, Celebrate Diversity, strives to embolden and recognise the strengths that diversity brings to the Central Highlands communities. We've achieved 100% of our target in this area. through promotion of multicultural diversity through Harmony Day displays in our libraries, building relationships per our Reconciliation Action Plan, or RAP, NAIDOC events and promotion, raising awareness of the RAP through libraries' Indigenous art and cultural displays, and videos promoting Japanese cultural protocols. And the images on the slide here are from the 2021 NAIDOC celebrations in Blackwater. And priority 6 is future direction, which encompasses strategically developing and innovating planning for the future of arts and culture within the Central Highlands. We've achieved 100% of our targets here. Highlights in the last 6 months include an update to the Future Aspirations document in line with the updated action plan, 3 Chrc meetings held, and arts sector training scheduled for delivery in collaboration with the Flying Arts Alliance in copyright and financial management. Images here are of Camille Swallow's exhibition opening for Film My Footprints and the Youth Art Awards opening and awards presentation with our Mayor Kerry Hayes, Judge Kim Eadie from Youth Justice as well. So to summarise, of the 6 priority areas, the following 3 areas achieved 100% of actions, which were community and celebration, celebrate diversity and future direction. Other areas with partial achievement are consolidation and revitalisation with 90% achieved, regional identity and sense of place 95% achieved, and positive partnerships with 95% achieved. So this brings the Creative, Cultural, Futures and Heritage Action Plan 2020 to 22 to 97% completion overall. We have a lot of exciting initiatives coming up in our new action plan, including the annual art awards for Springshaw in March, Youth in June and Emerald in August. The annual art awards, Emerald, have their 30-year anniversary in 2023. We'll continue engagement and communication for arts, cultural and heritage projects, a regional arts development fund, which we hope to announce very soon, galleries, open days, arts around August, community training and development, the Emerald Arts Precinct Capital Project, establishing a gallery's Instagram account, our town entrance sign trail, and improved public relations planning. We'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you from the Arts and Culture team. Mayor and councillors, thank you so much for your support by attending our events, in supporting budget, in liaising with the community and being our champions in advocating for arts, culture and heritage. Thank you, CEO Houlihan, for your support in attending our events. It's really fantastic to see our leadership overall invested in arts and culture in the region. A big thank you to our Connected Communities team for their ongoing support to run our events like our exhibition openings. And we'd like to thank our council colleagues more broadly from finance, PR and events, customer service, community facilities. What we do isn't possible without everyone's valued contributions. And a special thanks to our many community supporters and stakeholders, and in particular the Chrc, for their guidance and enthusiasm in making the Central Highlands home to a vibrant arts and cultural sector. And I'll now hand over to councillors for any questions.
Thank you very much, Kat. And ironically, we were heading that way for our morning tea, so that's appropriate as well. Councillors, questions? Councillor Cypher. Yep.
Thank you. Just looking at the incomplete items, I think it's pretty amazing that you have only got those few incomplete. Like I am aware that one of your staff were seconded to another department and is now taking well-deserved long service leave, and congratulations. I hope she certainly enjoys that R&R that she's got lined up, and it's great to think that we've got someone here taking long service leave in our organisation. But I just wanted to acknowledge that the department has been short-staffed. Obviously, during that long service period, we have advertised to backfill that position. So I certainly hope that someone will see the opportunity for 5 months in your department as an advantage. And I truly encourage people to apply for that short-term contract. The Emerald, the Dingo History Room, the lighting that was on the plan to get done, that has not inconvenienced. Well, probably this is a question. Number one, it's located. The collection is located in the library, so it has not inconvenienced or disappointed a community group. It's not a community group that has missed out on their lighting in last year. That's correct, is it?
Yes,
It's
that's
not a community
correct.
group?
Through the chair. So the Dingo History Room is kind of attached to the library there. And there is some lighting in the room. It's just that with the windows now being closed off, which was done to protect the heritage collections in there, the direct sunlight can degrade them. So we closed off those windows, and so we just wanted to improve the lighting there to be able to, I guess, bring it up to a more gallery standard. However, there is, it is serving its purpose at the moment.
Yes, and I think, you know, it's, don't beat yourself up about not achieving that one. I think that's pretty understandable. And I probably would have had more concerns if it was a little fledgling group, you know, that was disappointed. It's a fact that for a lot of reasons it just hasn't been achieved. So the next question is, it is in the budget for the next financial, that you'll be budgeting for it in the next financial year?
So we don't have budget for it in the current financial year. We're still doing the scoping work to, I guess, understand what work needs to be done, but we're planning to do that investigative work so that we're prepared to be able to apply for the 23-24 financial year.
That's what I thought.
Thank
you very much for that.
Thanks, Councillor Cyber. Councillor Rolfe.
Thanks, Mayor. Just want to make comment about the Blackwater Art Group display. It's not a display. What is it in a gallery? Exhibition in the Springshore Art Gallery. It was great. It was a great evening, and it was good to have other artists across the region. We had, on the night of the opening, we had people from Blackwater actually going to Springshore, going to dinner. Some stayed, some went on to do other things. And it just shares the exhibitions around in the region. It was well done. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe.
Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. And as Mayor Hayes mentioned earlier, when the Blackwater Art Society had their annual exhibition opening on the weekend, they did make special mention of that exhibition and how much they enjoyed being there and being able to exhibit and being able to be in Springshore and I guess share the love across the region. And they're very excited to be collaborating with us in that way. So it's, a very good win-win situation.
I think those are, and I think there's one of the images in Ruth and Katrina's presentation is Cassandra Donovan, I think Anita Davis and Michelle Bradshaw, who these are artists that have actually got all their art. Teresa Foley, these are all Blackwater people that have actually contributed to the exhibition in Bohinia, and then obviously entrance in Emerald here. So it's almost the Central Highlands Art Group now. It's a very diverse group. They feel very much supported. So that's only it's an incredible part of our communities now, and I think they're very proud of that. So you could obviously see by the attendance there the other night. So councillors, thank you very much to your team. Thank you, Ruth. I know it's a busy month, August. Clearly, I know all months are busy, and as Councillor Cypher said, with a small band of people, it's greatly appreciated, and certainly we'll get the opportunity of seeing the brilliant work that's downstairs in a moment. Councillors, that recommendation is there that we receive the Creative Cultural Futures and Heritage Action Plan for those years and the lifespan of it from 2020 to 2022. Someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Cypher, seconded Councillor Moriarty. There is a slight lag, Councillor Curtis, and it's not necessarily the streaming, it's probably the chair, but we've got a mover and a second in the room. I'm sure it'll happen before the end of the day. All in favour? Councillor Curtis has indicated very favourably. Against? So carried. Thank you, team. Thanks, Ruth. Thank you, Cap. All right, councillors, the next agenda item is our Library Strategic Action Plan update, which is from January to June. And I'll let John introduce his team again. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This will complete the trifecta this morning for our information reports. And I'll just wait for the... You're right, mate. As that's coming up, the library team has completed the first year of the latest action plan. Today's presentation will focus on highlights achieved in each of the 5 priority areas. I'll now hand over to Kira Nuss, our Coordinator of Libraries, to present the update. Thank you, Kira.
Thanks, John. Through the Chair, this presentation is focused on our Library Strategic Action Plan achievements between the period of January and June 2022. As you can see, we have the vision and mission statements on the screen. This is a 5-year plan. During the development of our plan, we made sure to schedule all of our projects' due dates to be spread evenly throughout the 5-year plan. This was to ensure the success of all of our projects and to well manage it within our library team. So we continue to work towards our 5 priority areas, which this presentation will be reporting highlights from. Our target for this 6-month period was 100%, and as this was the end of our first year within this plan, we have developed an infographic report card that will be made public and shared with all of you following this presentation. So towards the library staff training and learning section, we achieved 100%. During this period, we had 5 staff members complete the First 5 Forever training with support from State Library of Queensland, and next year we will have 4 more staff members go through that same training. We also had multiple team members participate in library industry webinars and training. This was on multiple topics, including the digitisation of historical materials, how to best promote and engage with the community for our new databases like the LinkedIn Learning platform, as well as better reporting methods, and also, what else? Oh, the new apps, thank you, available for libraries to provide to the communities. The highlight during this time was the fact that our library service was actually asked to present during a webinar. This was a case study, as we were the first library in the Southern Hemisphere to implement Print as our printing solution. So through partnership with Intelligent RFID Solutions and Print, our library service was able to connect with libraries across Australia and share our Print story. This was a well-received presentation, which has gone a long way to putting our library service on the map and build relationships with many library services across Australia. In fact, following that webinar, we've maintained communications with libraries in Western Australia, the Northern Territory and New South Wales. Towards library branding and marketing, our team has achieved 100%. We continue to improve our engagement and promotion skills and further develop our publications. During this time, we produced 215 posts on Facebook, 12 library newsletters, 30 posts on the Vine, and 170 displays within the libraries. This was all done to ensure that we reach both members of the public, visitors to the region, and our fellow council employees. We are looking forward to our next project, which is to do with the Have Your Say platform. In my opinion, the highlights from this priority area would be that our library service attended 2 Under 8s days and 4 community events across the region. These resulted in fantastic stats and direct contact with families in the public outside of the library walls. The photos that you're seeing today are from the Emerald Under 8s Day. This was a really successful event, and yet again, our library pop-up was one of the most popular stalls at the event. At our stall alone, we had 880 people interact with us, and we handed out 314 library bags. Our team assisted children in making their own bubble wands, and we also handed out the goodie bags and takeaway packs if families couldn't stay and do the activity with us. And we had planned our stall to have stepping stones leading from the craft area across to the soapy water play area so that the families could flow through our stall, making space for more attendees. It was a very successful event for us. Towards the community partnerships section, our library service achieved 100%. Highlights include the library team members attending 3 community reference groups, sharing updates and answering questions about the library service. Our First Five Forever officer presented at the Emerald Community Consult. We had 19 outreach events at local kindergartens and aged care facilities and 4 school partnered events as well. We are looking forward to the Gallery of Modern Art programs, which will be rolling out across the whole region. My personal favourite from this section was one of our final Avalon outreach sessions during that period. Unfortunately, we don't have photos of that specific session, but we took robotics to Avalon. They were small Ozobots, which are little robots that read colour coding. So they follow a track, and depending on the colours you use, it will do different actions like control the speed, spin around, things like that. It's the same technology that's used in a lot of crop farming where the machinery is actually run by robotics. A lot of the participants from Avalon actually come from sort of properties and that kind of background, so they were very excited about that technology and had a great time. They always love our library events, so when they declared that this was their favourite session so far, it really left an impact on us. So we're very proud to be able to provide that sort of service and education for our seniors. Towards the library community events, programs and services section, we achieved 100%. Although we were unable to achieve a specific performance measure, which was participating in NoGoa November, our team used that time and effort to overachieve in multiple other areas to make sure that we hit that 100%. There are a lot of programs for various demographics, but in total we had 1,571 sessions delivered within the libraries and 10,900 people participating in those programs. We are looking forward to the launch of the CHRC Library App, which will act as a virtual library, its own branch electronically. This will empower community members to be able to loan and return their own items, and this includes at the Pahinia Honorarium as well. So it would be like a non-staffed branch essentially with the use of this app, which we're very excited about. It also has the capacity to encompass our pre-existing databases and apps as well. So, for example, BorrowBox and Libby and our soon-coming Storybox Library and Hoopla apps will all sit inside that app. So anyone that is not very tech literate, they have the one-stop shop for everything libraries, and it's more simple for them. So a highlight from this particular period is that in the pursuit of accessibility for our library service, we have launched a regular live streaming storytime session. As there are lots of families that are unable to attend our face-to-face sessions in the libraries due to no transport, living on properties, just juggling life and children, we have added a live streaming component to the Tuesday morning storytime sessions in the Emerald Library. This has only added a couple extra steps to our regular program, so it was really simple to do, and we've had clear attendance online for those sessions as well, which we're very excited about. Okay. And we plan to continue that service in the future. Towards library facilities, the team achieved 100%. Highlights include that all branches now have a designated children's area for programs and the community to access. All branches have specific spinners or display shelving for the audio-visual collection. We finalised the wheeled shelving project in all 9 established library branches, and we have completed self-led 27 safety audits within our team based on our own schedule that we've created. So this includes auditing our first aid kits, chem watch, our storage areas, and any sort of hazards within the public area as well. We look forward to multiple exciting new projects starting in the next financial year. These include the single-sided shelving project, bay end panels, and implementing Microsoft Team Rooms. However, the highlight for this section was the completion of our Blackwater Library carpet project. This one was a massive project and had lots of partnerships, both internal and external, to get it done. The team is extremely proud that we were able to continue almost all of our services and programs out of our pop-up library within the Blackwater Civic Centre. So the only service we couldn't provide was printing. Everything else was still available to the community the entire time for those 2 weeks. We're so excited about the difference in the space, and we've already had a lot of compliments from the community as well. It was particularly rewarding as this project has been on the wish list for a very long time, so we hope that you all get a chance to come in and see the difference. Okay. Our overall target of 100% was achieved. As always, our library service would like to thank those who helped us achieve our goals. So thank you to the State Library of Queensland, Aurora Information Technology, who provide our platform and support with the digitisation project. Local playgroups, kindies and schools, the Blue Care team from Avalon, and council colleagues, people and culture, connected communities, ICT, customer service, public relations and events, health and safety, assets and facilities. The library team, including our enthusiastic new recruits and our volunteers. Our management, Suzanne and John, and of course Mr Mayor and the councillors for your continued support of our action plan goals and providing the library service the opportunity to give the best possible services to the community. I would like to open it up to the floor for discussion.
Thank you very much, Kira. And as usual, extremely comprehensive. I think in terms of looking through agendas and looking for reports to go to, this is certainly very colourful, and I note a little bit of colourfulness in the team. You're a bit slow, troops. I did want to ask you that, Kira, if you don't mind, and in terms of I see and I think an observation of the libraries becoming very, very not because they're not important, but there's obviously a lot of technology sort of connection happening at that space, and I think this is not something new I'm talking about, but I just wonder where you see that going. I see, with print, and I know there's a demographic, we've got, literally we've got it all covered, but I see there's a real network now around, touring and visitors and communities seeing this as a very important place where some of their technological sort of, I guess you'd say, touch points are. So I just was interested to hear where that might be going.
Yep, so through the chair, basically for the library service, I think it's going to be a real mix of analogue and digital. Basically, we have to make sure that everyone, whether they're visiting or within the community, no matter what their skills are, they need to be able to get the job done. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of services like Centrelink, Anglicare, a lot of their services are becoming very technical, and basically people are expected to complete certain forms and processes online themselves. So we're seeing more and more people are being sent to the library for help if they don't know how to use a computer and things like that. So making sure that our library services have staff that know what they're doing, we have technology that does operate and can keep up with the current government forms and things like that. that makes a huge difference for our community, because you can't get an education or certain services that you need without that kind of technology or assistance.
All right, Kieran, I look forward to seeing, I guess you'd say, management responding to that in terms of, there are requests around that. It's important that, I think we see it anecdotally, but I think it's important that at some point we get that evidence that might support, the opportunity of deciding whether we invest in that a little more.
Absolutely.
I dare say, rip my tongue out for encouraging people to come back to council for more money, but we've got to be very cognizant of our community need. And if we're really saying that we're, cognizant of the demographics, these spaces particularly, the library space will never be ever replaced. It's that really sort of, I guess, important safe space that people feel. And we might have to, look at, obviously encouraging some more services there that might assist a few more people. So thank you for your comments. Thank you, councillors. Over to you. Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Again, congratulations to your team and everything that you guys are doing. And firstly, just to add on from what the Mayor was also saying, that, I always view libraries as community lounge rooms. And as the Mayor quite rightly says, they are lounge rooms for our community and a safe space for all demographics to come together. And in fact, as I guess as a social learning hub, in fact, the libraries actually become a social learning system, if you like, because we've got 13 of them throughout the region. So this is a very powerful service that's offered through council to support so many people. Secondly, I'd just like to say thank you for the Blackwater Library. So thank you guys for that. That's actually absolutely wonderful. But also, as you were saying, Mr Mayor, about how do we also find other ways to connect with different demographics. I'm very happy to say, if you don't mind, we've been speaking about it publicly at the Emerald Community Reference Group, CRG. Last year we held our Positive Ageing Forum, and we came up with a list of actions out of that. It came up again and again about the opportunity to use our library and libraries, particularly for Emerald, it was Emerald specific, as a place for people to be able to come in, and a central point where people know that they can come in to either get hard copy or access to virtual information, and they know they're going to get that support. So I'm very happy to say that we're actually linking in one of the initiatives that we're doing. We're linking in through the Vintage group to bring in guest speakers as part of that. And so with the tech savvy workshops, with the library, home library service, there's a whole range of things that we're very excited, including University of the Third Age linking through with us, that we're actually working through now to promote the actions, or a significant number of our actions from the Positive Ageing Forum that we did last year in Emerald. So I just wanted to say that. And the other thing that was a little bit amiss of me to say was we're not just a physical community lounge room, we're building that virtual community lounge room. So I just wanted to say thank you very much and share a little bit of that information with people. Thank you.
Thanks,
Well
Councillor
done.
Moriarty. Other questions, councillors? Well, as I said, as usual, it's a very thorough report, Kira. Look forward to it. I was going to ask you what's the management like up at the 126 Brilla Street. I think it's pretty tough up there, but I'm sure that there's a relationship there that you can mend. Councillors, the recommendation is there that we receive the Library Strategy and Action Plan for 2021-2026 for the January to June 22 period. Is someone happy to move that? Moved by councillor Moriarty. Seconded. Councillor Burns. All in favour? Councillor Curtis has indicated she's voting in favour. Against? Carried. Thank you very much, Kira. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, John. Councillors, I think I'll take the opportunity. The next couple of reports we've allocated a little bit more time. We might break now for our morning tea down in the gallery, so make your way down there. We have a little bit of leeway there, so we might be back here, I think at 11, if that's all right. And then we'll have our last three reports for those officers that are required to do those. And then that should nearly finish our meeting today. So I'll adjourn the meeting now at 10:20. Thank you, everyone. see and hear us. Councillor Curtis, can you see and hear us in our boardroom?
Yes, ma'am. I can see and hear you.
Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Just a slight pause there, but I think we've got you. All right, councillors, back to our agenda, and we'll resume the meeting. We were down to our customer service Q4 report update, and that is comes under the hand of our Acting General Manager of Customer and Commercial Services, as it currently is known, Solomon Clopper. So you might do the introductions and for Beck to report to us this morning. Thank you, Solomon.
That's through the Chair. Welcome, councillors and staff. So this morning we bring you the quarterly customer service update for the fourth quarter of financial year 2022. This reports on performance of our customer services function against the adopted standards and the benchmarks. I'll ask the Manager Customer Service, Rebecca Brosnan, to present the item to Council.
Thank you, General Manager Coppers, and good morning, councillors. Today I present to you the Q4 performance report. The first slide is regarding customer requests. So for the period, we received 4,712 CRMs for the reporting period. Of the total, just over a third were received via our contact centre. Approximately another third were received via our inquiries mailbox. We are seeing an upwards trend towards requests being submitted online through the portal. I'll speak to the numbers a little bit later in the presentation. On this slide, we've got a departmental snapshot of the total volume of requests received and the percentage completion within the standard timeframe. This slide represents the top 5 request types by volume, and special mention goes to the environmental health team this quarter for their efforts in resolving 98% of their customer requests relating to food business licences. This period is generally a very busy period for the environmental health team, so this is a fantastic achievement for them. As indicated earlier in the presentation, we are seeing an upward trend towards logging customer requests via our online portal. This slide is referencing our other contact points. This quarter we received 134 requests, and that represents a 538% increase from the last quarter. We're also seeing a steady increase by about 30% in the use of Snap Send Solve. Improvements we've made to the Contact Us landing page. As a result, we're seeing people take up the option to use that online services model. This behaviour, if you like, aligns with global trends towards online services, and certainly has probably always been that way given our demographic. The only real difference we have made that's driving the figures up at the moment is the fact that we've made access to this service a lot better. So essentially just less clicks to get to the online portal. So we expect this to increase over time, and we look forward to exploring this information a little bit more in depth when we do our customer experience journey mapping.
And Beck, do we know, have we any evidence that it's just Councillor Cypher putting more Snap Send Solves in, or is it? I was going to do, I haven't put one in. I've only encouraged that many. I'm not confused. I'm facetious. Sorry, Beck, but I just wanted to check and see if there was any way of knowing that yet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can we ask on the
yes.
run?
Go, Rob.
Rebecca, when you've got your 148 calls, and is that 80? That's 82% urgent. What do you call urgent?
So that's our after-hours service specifically. So they received 148 calls for the period, and they go through a process of triage. If it's considered urgent and they have a script that they have to follow, so for example, a wandering dog is a risk to public health and safety, they're required to escalate that to a duty officer. So we're saying of all the inquiries that they received, 82% were actually referred to a duty officer because they were urgent, which is good news for the after-hours service. It means that it's being used for its intended purpose, which is we're not getting copies of rates notices and things like that after hours. So.
Okay. Thanks, Beck. Just before you go on, Beck, just so Councillor Curtis, if you also be aware that if you want to obviously make a comment or put your hand up, I will keep my diligently looking your way as well. So thank you. Go, Beck. Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sorry,
Thank
Councillor
you.
Daniel.
Sorry, with your customer request management overall page 267 or 290. I was a couple of slides back to what's on the screen. I was interested in how you classify Snaps and Solve. Now, is it the online portal, or are you classifying it as coming in still via email? Because there's an integration, isn't there, now happening with Snaps and Solve?
Yes, through the chair. Councillor Daniels, I'll just get the right page number that you're referring to as well.
267.
Do you know which one that is, Marnie? And the one more?
Yeah.
This one here?
That's it. No, back. That's it. Yeah, the thing on the table on the side I was referring to, because you've got that split up there of it's not your full percentage, is it?
So, are you talking about the figures in the circles?
No, in the rectangles.
So percentage, so of the quarters, that's a quarterly comparison.
Yep.
So it's 79% complete, for example, for quarter 4 of the overall CRMs were completed within the time frame versus 21%. Snaps and Solves are included in there in the sense that when they come through council, they're created as a customer request.
So do you, with the 39% CRMs received by phone, 35% CRMs received by email, etc., what, with Snaps and Solves, is it an integration to our online service, or is it still coming in by email?
Still coming in via email.
That was my question.
Yeah. We have flagged that we'd like to progress the integration that they have at the moment, which is through an API, I think is the right term, so that they can come straight in and aren't touched by customer service. They'll go straight into the request system. We've just got to go through the steering committee and the right process to get that implemented and make sure it's successful. But that's definitely an efficiency gain that we'll have by having that level of integration.
Yeah,
so it's really good.
You'll save double, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Because the customer service team are responding individually to each one of those Snaps and Solves that comes in.
Yeah.
I think that's building trust when people are lodging Snaps and Solves, that they are going somewhere and someone is personally responding to them. But it is a short-term thing until we can have that integration.
I mean, it's the same process you would go through if it was received by email. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Or phone.
Yep, it's just another way of coming in.
Yeah,
correct.
Thank you.
All right. This slide is regarding our contact centre. So that's our calls to the 1300 number. We received just over 5,000 calls for the quarter, which is fairly steady in comparison to the previous reporting periods. The daily average calls I thought might be of interest. It sits about 83 calls per day coming into the call centre, with 86% of those for the last quarter resolved at the first point of contact. Special mention is made there for animals in particular, where 90% of those calls coming in were received at the first point of contact. But as a collective of all the inquiries, it was 86% for the period. This is our slide we implement when it's at the end of the quarter, so the end of financial years, and we do a short comparison between the previous financial year and even though we're in the new one now, the one previous. I'll just summarise it very quickly that we received 2% fewer calls to council in 2021-22, and our resolution at first point of contact achievement was 89%. There was a slight increase of 3% in emails received to council's inquiries mailbox, so that's very, very minor. We received double the amount of Snaps and Solves between the previous financial year and last financial year, and customer requests were up by 15%. So there is a statistic there for our customer satisfaction survey, and I'll talk to that particular achievement in the next couple of slides. So for last financial year, it was 98% customer satisfaction with customer service and area support. This slide recognises Connor Quinn Fitzgerald, who was a recipient of the Customer Service Excellence Award in the last quarter of the last financial year. I'm sure you're all familiar with Connor. He received the award for his outstanding commitment to service excellence. Connor's an example of councils growing their own initiative, starting off as a trainee before progressing into the triage role, and then more recently he's been successful in getting the service desk officer role. This award was made even more special as he received a special endorsement from the Executive Assistant to the Mayor. He's well known for exceptionally high standards, and Connor consistently exceeds those standards. So congratulations to Connor on this achievement. I'll now provide a summary of our annual customer satisfaction survey for 21-22. We do run this survey annually, and it's targeted at understanding the performance around the accuracy, the quality and the timeliness of service that our customer service and our area support staff deliver to the community. So it is very much focused on the frontline staff and the level of professionalism that they use, the quality of the information that they provide and how timely they are in responding to customers. Again, this year we received absolutely fantastic results. Not surprisingly, the team is wonderful. I'll just summarise it just quickly. The period was from the 1st of May to the 30th of May this year, which happened to coincide with a water billing period. And we embrace that opportunity to just demonstrate it doesn't matter what period we might be in, whether it's a historically busy period or a quieter period, our standards of service don't change. So we conducted the survey for a month. We invited 478 people that interacted with us through our different contact channels to participate in the survey, and we kept a record of everybody that we asked. And of those near 500 people, 101 elected to respond to the survey, which is really good. Of the respondents, 100% said that they agreed the service provided by the officer was professional and to a high standard, and 98% agreed the officer was knowledgeable, which is also fantastic and supports our resolution at first point of contact target and the standards that we try and achieve. The most popular branches for respondents, so this isn't a reflection of our most popular branches that customers necessarily attend, but of the 400 people that we asked, the respondents came from these areas by and large. So Doringa was number one with 39% of all respondents to the survey contacting the Doringa office for their inquiry, followed by Emerald and then Blackwater. And not surprisingly, our overall achievement in terms of satisfaction was 98%. So that's absolutely fantastic. The last slide in the presentation just provides another bit of a summary of some of the information we gleaned from the survey. Not surprisingly, given the period the survey was conducted for, the most popular inquiry type was rates and water. So the majority of inquiries were in relation to water billing for the period, and that's represented in the results. We also have the popular contact channels, so bearing in mind again that this is the respondents, this isn't a generalisation about how our customers interact with us, but of the respondents to the survey, 23% were liaising with us through the front counter who chose to do the survey, 67% over the phone, and for those customers we sent them a link. So basically we finished the interaction with them and said, we'd really like to get your feedback on the quality of the service I've provided today. Can I send you a link? If they didn't have access to be able to complete the survey through a link, they were asked if they minded asking the questions, and our staff completed the survey for them so that they could still participate. That marks the end of the presentation, and I hand back over to the Chair for any questions or comments.
Thank you, Beck. Over to you, councillors. I know we've made some comments along the way, but questions and queries. I just would like to say, probably, Beck, just from a timing perspective, and I know we've just done a bit of our community consultation roadshows as part of our engagement. It's probably means a lot and means a little, I guess, to make sure that, I guess, as a mindset, you know, clearly and unequivocally, you know, as a council representative, you know, you want to make sure that community are actually have that really good interface with the organisation when they've got a query or a problem or a, you know, a request. So it is nice to keep having these numbers, and I know there's a lot of hard work done on that. I mean, it's nice to record the numbers. It's also nice to see the resources and, I suppose, the activities reflective of, you know, creating the opportunity for community to actually engage well. And it would seem to be, as an observation, that that better connection and confidence that people have seems to be coming through in those figures. So it's something we have in the back of our minds when we do get out on the road sometimes, and people talk about the way they might interact with their community. So it's good to have that information just to reinforce that. So it's a good story. Thank you. Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question, just to clarify, on that, with the customer service survey, with that last slide, Beck, I think I'm allowed to go, sorry, manager, that where you've got popular contact channels, that was what they preferred, that was their preferred options of contacting council?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
of the people who elected to participate in the survey, we asked them how did they interact with us?
Yeah.
And then we analysed the results and went, 67% of the people that we surveyed, their preference was to call us.
Yep. I found that quite interesting. Yeah, it's almost 70%. So, yeah, very interesting. Thank you, Beck. Thank you.
Councillor Cypher, yep.
Just a question, and if this is too hard to do, please say so, because I don't want to create work. With our community consultations that we go out to, is there some way you can pull a quick report, and I don't want to create work, over the years on how many attendants there are at each, so over the last 3 years, how many have attended Lockington, which I know is always a great turnout at Lockington. Can you pull a report on that, or would you have to go back through all the meeting notices or?
Through the chair, it's probably quite easy to get a hold of. The coordinators keep a register of the attendances because they send out meeting minutes to those that elected. So we do have that information in registers and we'll be able to pull that up. We also use it when it comes around to sorting out the schedule for the following year to try and get an understanding. For example, Emerald didn't have, it was quite low representation the year before last. And so we were thinking about, the validity of doing 3. And so we do take into account numbers when we're talking and trying to sort out the schedule as well to consider where, how,
okay,
why.
that's good then. As long as you're monitoring that, we probably don't necessarily need it, but I suppose it was more to know exactly what you raised. If there's a consistent low, and Emerald predominantly has very low,
Yep.
If that's consistent year after year, then we'd have to review how we might do something. So as long as you've got your finger on the pulse there, that's all that I was concerned about. So don't go recreating the wheel again. It's just that as long as that's being monitored. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cypher. Yep.
I think it's a good question though, Councillor Cyber, because I guess, we're trying to always review the engagement process. So if that can come out, I think that's a good, useful thing to have. Not, like you say, it's something that we can gauge. And you don't set out to be successful. It's about to make sure it's meaningful and it's providing something for people. So, yeah. And as you know, we always have less people here. Maybe they get a lot of good access to things when they need to. Perhaps our other communities are a little more, I suppose, traditional in some of the ways they like to bring stuff to us. So, thank you. Other questions for Beck? All right. Well, thank you very much, Beck, again. Thank you very much, Solomon. Councillors, that recommendation is there that we'll receive that quarterly customer service update for that period 1 April to 30 June. Is someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Brimblecombe, seconded Councillor Cypher. All in favour? Oh, sorry, was that Councillor Burns?
I think it doesn't matter.
Sorry, Councillor Cypher's happy. All right. Councillor Curtis has voted in favour. Against? Carried. Thank you. Sorry, Councillors, a little bit of confusion. All right, thank you, Beck. The next report is the record of proceedings from the community consultation of Guindy. I think we certainly outnumbered them out there. It's the only time we ever do. But certainly it might be a short report, Solomon, but thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Council no doubt agree that community consultation forms the cornerstone of our governance, our planning and our service delivery. On the 20 July, the Gindy community hosted Council's community consultation at the Gindy Tennis Club. The Manager Customer Service will take Council through the report. Thanks, Beck.
Thank you, General Manager Coppers. The report before you today is the record of proceedings for the community consultation in Guindy, as the Mayor indicated. Attendance was relatively low at Guindy. However, we had the pleasure of our new federal member in attendance. The minutes before you are for your consideration and endorsement, and I hand over to the floor if there's any questions or comments.
Thank you, Beck. And can I reflect the apologies that are not necessarily reflected in the official minutes, but as a lot of you would have been aware, and certainly council was aware, that our road engagement team and a couple of councillors who had been out with council officers only literally, I think, 10 or 2 weeks beforehand, a bit before that, not even that, was a couple of days. Actually, might have been only 5 days to actually talk about preempting the rather large, obviously, wheat crop that's, God willing, comes in at in the next couple of months. So I guess you'd say that component of, I guess, sometimes the interest at our engagement was not there, and they all work very, very busy working away at some of that stuff as well. So Kathy Travers and Meredith and Rachel Sullivan obviously made apologies on behalf of big numbers of people that were there, but they certainly raised obviously some good topics there. We do need to acknowledge Alison Kieski for leaving a note and a packet of Tim Tams on the table to make sure that we were adequately welcome. So I took that as certainly people that were pleased that we're still going to be there in the facility at the hall. Meredith showed us through the new seating out the front, the barbecue, and certainly the work they've done that have been, they've managed to get some money through our funds, council funds, and through other gaming funds as well. So the facility is well set up there, and you can see the minutes there of those few items we discussed out there. So over to you, councillors. Is there any questions on those? Councillor Moriarty.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It looks like a great meeting, and I was just going to say I was on official leave, and could I be listed as an apology, please?
Oh, okay, sorry. My apologies, Councillor Moriarty, if it's not there. Yeah, okay, sorry. Sorry, yeah, Councillor Moriarty, I just didn't transfer across to the actual day. I guess we were working with the list of the day, so that can be noted. Thank you very much. And you did actually get a mention in discussion. We did mention that obviously some of the regarding Alison's interest in the CRG that we talked about the year before. So it was mentioned in the minutes, the conversation with you. So whilst you weren't there, you were certainly mentioned. So we'll record the apology. Thank you. All right. Well, councillors, and sorry, another question, Councillor Rolfe. Sorry, my apologies.
Not a question, Mayor, but just to explain a little bit about you say about the used silos cannot be painted. So I think GrainCorp would probably say that they're past using, or they're not going to use it, but this harvest coming up is so large that the growers around on the road users group meeting were actually saying that will probably need that silo, and also maybe even the emerald pads for grain if things go a bit awry with GrainCorp at Yamla. So there is a possibility that they may have to be still activated, yes.
It has always been the practice. I know GrainCorp won't say it, and I'm not saying it on their behalf, but certainly we've had another inch of rain since then, and I suspect the crops that were going to be pretty big are probably pretty safe now. So save for late frost, they will end up using the pads, I suspect, at both spots.
Can I add another bit too, please, about the weeds? The weeds in Central Highlands. Very recently we've actually received through the Stock Routes Network, and John, you may like to just update us on what is happening about spatial data, if you could.
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you, Councillor Rolfe. It was probably a lucky conversation yesterday with Councillor Rolfe that I was emailing one of my officers in regard to this, but we're looking to, and look, this mapping technology has been there for a little while, but around some spatial recognition and capture of where our heavy weed areas are. So we're using our platform that we're using internally called ArcGIS to actually, map and that will help, obviously, through our internal communication as well with areas that are heavily infested, so mainly between myself and General Manager Houlihan's area, where we've got heavy works occurring on road verges or whatever it may be, but that will be used as part of our internal education, but also external education as well with landholders and visitors to the area as well. So it will be able to generate maps. It will be updated as part of our treatment program as well, and that will also allow us to prioritise areas as well. So it's a great thing, and thank you, Councillor Roll, for bringing that up.
And thanks to LJQ Joshua Dyke, who has, through our Stock Routes Network Advisory meeting, has really pushed this sort of thing. It's been great over the last few days, actually, to get the information. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I guess, I think, Marnie, we have a delegation coming from FBA at some point, a presentation to strategic and briefing, and we do really need to, I guess, hear their thoughts on weeds as well. We certainly need to get a bit collective, I guess, in our advocacy here. So, yep, all right. Sorry, Councillor Brimelcombe, yeah.
Yeah, my apologies for going off topic with as in Gindy. With the weeds, does that use drone technology to map weeds as well? And I'm thinking of the Willow's cactus. I'm sorry for going off topic, so.
You're right. Look, I'll take that on notice through the chair, if that's okay. I know when I was heavily involved with this, nearly 3 years ago now, they were looking at that technology that you could basically do an aerial survey and then dump that data into the ArcGIS database as well. I'm not sure where they're at with it, and what I will probably do, Councillor, is touch base with Josh and just see where it's at. But I know technology's developing very quickly. So for now, what I'm definitely aware of is that it would be a physical GPS location that would be downloaded into the ArcGIS database. And it would just define boundaries based on a polygon, if that makes sense. So that's the current technology that I'm aware of, but no doubt it will have advanced in the 3 years that I've seen it.
Thank you, and again, my apologies for getting off topic.
Thanks, Charlie. All right, councillors, that recommendation is there that we received those for the community consultation at Guindy Tennis Club 20 July, and noting that there are no CRMs logged as of that meeting. So someone happy to move that? Moved by Councillor Moriarty, seconded Councillor Carpenter. Sorry, you were defending yourself. Sorry, you weren't pressed. Okay, so Councillor Carpenter's moved it. I need a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Brimelcombe. All in favour? Councillor Curtis has indicated she's in favour. Against? Carried. Thank you, councillors.
Inspect.
So, councillors, that brings us now to our safety and wellness Q4 update. And I did note Gay was in the room. She is, in fact, here. I'll hand over to Sharon, CEO, to introduce this report. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. So, yes, this is the Q4 report, but because Q4 is the end of the year, it's also the full year report on safety performance. So there's some comparative information in there in relation to this year's safety performance statistics compared to last year's. So I'll just make a couple of opening comments and then I'll hand over to our Manager Safety and Wellness, Gabe Westerberg. So our incidents and near misses, so our reporting is up, as are our injuries, but the good thing about it is that our incidents and near misses especially, reporting is up more significantly than injuries, which means that basically our people are doing more reporting, and that is a very important thing. I don't mind how many incident reports we get in terms of near misses, especially. The more we get, the more chance we have of preventing near misses becoming something other than near misses. Our injuries are up by 5 on the previous year. So we're keeping a look on that. But the point to make there really is, one, that incidents and especially near-miss reporting is up, which does indicate safety culture-wise an increase in trust. People don't report if they don't think something's going to be done about their report, is the going theory. And so if reports, especially if near misses, are up, then I'm glad to see that. The other thing that's great about these data is that we have a 50% decrease in lost time injury incidents and claims from the previous year. So that speaks to the, Gay will be better at this analysis, but to me that speaks to the severity of the injuries, and that's also a good thing if that's down as well as claims. So they're my overall comments in relation to this year versus the previous year. Obviously, I take safety performance very seriously, and I'm looking forward to the report from Gay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam CEO. Thank you, Mayor and councillors. So yes, this is the period for ending 30 June, so the quarter, and then also the opportunity to look at the full year. As per my previous reports, I do like to take a chance to look at the external environment and particularly with the application back to CHRC. And for this period here, for the quarter, there was two interesting external news relevant to CHRC's workplace health and safety. And one related here from Safe Work New South Wales, where they actually provided a judgment reinforcing the point that a person conducting the business, so council operations, our PCBU, so they reinforced that the PCBU is entitled to rely on the expertise of another contractor when they do not possess the skills to do the work. So it doesn't entirely remove the duty of care. Where there is a known risk to health and safety, the PCBU then has the processes to reduce the risk and therefore has the duty to stop the unsafe work. This case has been widely shared by Queensland Workplace Health and Safety Inspectors and does provide a reminder on the importance to meet the due diligence for the PCBU. Our second external news that's relevant here was actually relating back in April, and that was from the Queensland Office of Workplace Health and Safety Prosecution, where they fined a company for the seriousness and failure of duty, as it was found that the risk to the workers was real and foreseeable because of the lack of guarding that would ensure that the workers weren't near the dangerous work zones. So this ruling really relates that the incident where it related to where a worker was actually partially trapped in a machine that's used to design and flatten bags. But there were no visual markings, no guarding, no exclusion zone, no risk assessment or safe work operating procedures concerning that work close to the moving conveyor. And what this is application back to us around that requirement. If there is a real and foreseeable risk, we need to manage that in our workplace. If we put our lens from the external and come internal, and look at the work that's been in regards to our workplace health and safety risk register. We've been continuing on the safety maturity, and in this last quarter, the specific actions that we've done here was where we had leaders invited to attend job safety observation training, and this is where we put a focus on the leaders being in field and applying council values with looking at how to align that to close work. The safety language we like to talk about is work is done to work as imagined. So are we using the footpath or are we actually doing the little short track through the park and trying to align that before an incident happens? So leaders were invited to another session of that training. And there was also feedback during this period from the audit committee to consider roles such as coordinators and supervisors to complete the work area inspections, and this is actually consolidating that into routine work. Now this will require a lot of consultation and consideration of current work commitments for those roles. However, this action does form part of our corporate action planning going forward. The second part is still there with the contractor management, which does remain the high risk, and reinforces the requirement to have suitably skilled and experienced contract managers and representatives managing our contractor risks. There has been substantial work done in the last quarter though, and this is where we've had from a number of input across council, from each general manager providing a representative for their work area, and allowed for a tender to be completed on a program to help our contract managers within council manage this risk. That's currently now at design phase, and we've had some excellent buy-in over the last period to allow that to progress. So if I progress through the report here, we're now at emerging issues, and this is currently at compliance safety, and this is where the clarity of responsibilities for the safety of that work area is required. So ensuring workplaces are well maintained and at an acceptable standard is a requirement of an employer to meet their duty of care. So consistency of how the workplaces are compliant is required, and it also links with the work that we've been doing currently on the continued consultation regarding improvements to the electrical procedure to align with the Australian standards. There's been certainly progress in relation to our workers' camp safety, and it also has been supported with the camp committee and a highly consultative approach from the relevant manager in that area. The other part here is that the procedure for our drug and alcohol in the workplace, that current procedure was brought into council 30th of November 2016, and whilst we've been working through and gaining feedback, we're not at a position yet that we can move forward on that, and we'll continue following up and hopefully can step forward with that. So if we go now into the data and the facts of how do we perform, as CEO has mentioned, that we've had 5 more injuries for this full financial year, so from 1st of July 2021 to the period ending 30 June 2022. So the previous year we had 80 injuries. And you can, if we then actually look at that, review that across the functional areas, it will show that where they've been split up from report, first aid, and actually by the directorate, the relevant general manager's responsibilities. There was no notifiable incidents from April to June, so being once again where it's classified under the regulation as an incident that the Workplace Health and Safety Inspector needs to be notified. And there was actually, though, a Workplace Health and Safety Inspector did a routine inspection at the Emerald Sale Yards through this period, and they found some areas for improvement, but once again, credit to the team out there, communicated the improvement notices, addressed, closed out, all within the required time frame. Muscular stress was the highest cause of injury for the reporting period, so for the full year, and it really does represent an opportunity for greater body awareness of our tasks and really consideration for process improvements of those regular routine tasks that our people are performing. And then if we look over here, I've got in the full year, so full financial year with our lost time injury, and the medical treatment. So the incidents that take a little bit of time to get people back to routine work. And we can see here that if we can look at the accumulation, there's been an increase, and that would be for this year, so ending at just slightly higher as compared to the previous year. That makes sense. We've had 5 more injuries, and also the year before we had a little dip, I think, from April, May, June, yeah, so it's been also related to the timing there. But if we look at our lag indicators and see how is CHRC comparing to other similar councils in the scheme with LGW, it's quite favourable. So, and not that we like to be competitive about these metrics, but it is always a nice thing to be able to say that in comparison. So our frequency rate for having an injury where someone can't come back to work on the same day is favourable compared to the scheme. And so our metric at the moment is at a frequency rate of 9.8 days compared to the scheme of 12.79.
Gay, just
yeah.
If you don't mind, you had a question,
Oh,
Megan?
Yes.
No, I can hold to the end. I was just...
No, well, that's all right. Sorry, I was just going to say to you, it might be worthwhile, when you say we're not competitive, we are actually running up to, at the annual conference, there's generally, LGW actually does recognise those regions that do perform well. So if you know what I mean, I guess in terms of the commerciality of their insuring or underwriting of lost time, that they do see obviously councils that are doing better and are trying to encourage that. Whether it's a competition, it's still acknowledged, and I know that there are some very, very strong councils that are repeat, I guess, awardees. We were certainly awarded, won an award, I think, at the Gold Coast. So in a regional perspective, so I guess I just wanted to go, if you might just articulate what that is, and guess in terms of the benchmark, the LGW benchmark is all local governments in Queensland, or the ones that participate in LGW?
So it'll be the 65 councils that they have in their scheme that we're compared against, but then they also summarise similar councils, so there's Group A, B, C and D.
Yes.
I have tried to understand who we're compared against, but they don't share that information.
Okay, no, that's fine. So just so councillors understand what
Yes.
it's actually the benchmark is against. Yep.
Yes. Continue on?
Yeah, thanks, go.
Yeah, okay. So our duration rate, so 18.81, and in the scheme, so that's was 28.94, so favourable. And then if we actually look at, so our lost time injury rate, now this is the number of lost time injuries and illness for every 100 workers employed. We are sitting at 1.82 at 30 June compared to the actual full scheme of 2.36, but our little group average was 1.94. So we're at 1.82. Our group average that we're compared at was 1.94, so we're still favourable there. And the pleasingly thing here is that we've demonstrated a 50% decrease in lost time injury incidents and claims from the previous year, which will have a favourable position, in the scheme. And if we look at some of the verification work that's been completed, and I should say this is from all of council, just for comparative, you know, it's our operational managers, supervisors out there working to make this happen. But 33% of the hazards reported, 51% of the hazards during this period were either eliminated or rectified to what we call in safety terms as low as reasonably practicable. So they might still be there, but we've assessed the risk and we believe it's at an acceptable level of risk. So 51%, so that was an improvement which hopefully will encourage reporting. There's still further work to do there, with 33% of the hazards at the time of the report were listed as overdue. And as we mentioned with the contractor safety risk, that still represents a risk, and demonstrated with 10% of contractors for the financial year that had an interaction that was understanding if you've completed your induction for council, and that this was recorded. So 10% didn't have an induction done, so it still reinforces back to how critical that specialised focus is from contract owners. There were 81 flu vaccinations given to our employees, and this is down about 1/3 from the previous year, but that also we're thinking there was the free immunisations that commenced with our pharmacies, so we'll see how that tracks across the year from there. And the drug and alcohol testing has continued as routine operations. So that concludes this report at this point in time, and progressing on my next report. Is there any questions or?
Councillor Daniels.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. Through the chair, thank you for your report. That was very good. Just a question with, and I know with, I guess, lost time from the point of view of people getting sick with COVID or the flu, how is that recorded and reported back to us? It'll be through the HR reporting, is it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for the question. Yes, that would be through people and culture. So that would be around leave entitlements. So a lost time injury is where someone has been at work and they cannot go back to their same job the next routine shift. So if you hurt yourself on Friday, we don't recount the Saturday, Sunday. But if you couldn't come to work on the Monday, that's a metric that we need to report.
Yep,
You came to
okay.
work and you weren't able to complete your normal job.
And then the question I have is really, and I guess it falls into the workplace health and safety space, is when now with the ability to come into meetings via video link, like people are off sick and can't come into work, but then they're still coming in via video link. And I guess one thing that's always come into my mind is it's commendable that people want to do it, but then are we, if you're sick, it's your body's telling you something, so are we allowing them the ability to rest as well? So are we sort of monitoring that from a workplace health? It doesn't need to be monitored from a workplace health and safety perspective.
I can probably help with that one.
Yeah,
Is
thank
that
you.
okay, Kay? So that's being monitored like any illness where you don't know where it's been caught. So rather than through workplace injuries, it's not really where it's monitored. It's more managed and monitored by line managers. So we've had it's been very well managed. We've had very little leave had to be taken. If people are sick and their body's telling them something, they're too sick, then that's their choice. I'm too sick to work, I need to take sick leave, and that's fine. If we've managed the potential risk, I guess, of people working through sickness, which we don't want them to do for their sake, and because it's a disease that's able to be spread for everybody else's sake as well. We've managed that. We had a policy around a special leave type where if people were, unable to work because they're outdoor workers, say, and it's different for indoor because we can offer, video conferencing, but if they were unable to work due to being an outdoor worker and in quarantine because a family member was sick, or even if they were sick themselves, and we had a special leave policy in place under our certified agreement, so that I could, at my discretion, approve additional leave if people were in circumstances where they may otherwise come to work, spread the illness, make themselves unwell, just because they didn't want to take leave or have enough leave. So we manage that like that. But specifically around the video conferencing, that's always the person's choice, and they discuss it with their manager. So that's offered because when people don't feel too sick to work, but they know responsibly, and we know responsibly they shouldn't work, they don't want to use up their sick leave, and they have the option of using sick leave if they have a diagnosis, not for quarantine, but that's where we have the special leave. So we offer it as a choice, and then it just gets managed. So basically, if that were Gay and Gay reports to me, she would say to me, I've got a COVID test positive, but I haven't got any symptoms and I don't really feel ill. I'm perfectly happy to work, but I'm not allowed to. Do you mind if I work from home and join meetings by video link? Sure, but I'll be always led by Gay. So that's something that's managed like a normal employment relationship rather than as injury management.
Thank you very much.
That's okay.
Councillor Burns.
Yeah, that's very good news on the LTIs. That's hopefully we can bring that down to zero. That's a big one. Just with the 33% of hazards reported that remain overdue, what are we talking about there? Are they major hazards or?
Thank you, Councillor Burns, for the question. So as at 30 June, in regards to the percentage of hazards that was overdue, only one was ranked as high, and there'd been discussions around how to manage that. So there's extensive consultation with that work group being led by the manager and the HSR, Health and Safety representatives. So from a risk perspective, one was listed as high and being worked through to find a solution The rest would have been, I can't tell you the percentage of medium to low, but the rest of the outstanding hazards were listed as medium or low as for the overdue listing.
Yeah, I just know from my industry, like we always just try and eliminate the hazards or isolate them so we don't go anywhere near it. It's one of the big things. But, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Burns. Councillor Moriarty?
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Thank you. Okay, thank you. I just first off wanted to reiterate what the CEO mentioned before, that this council takes our responsibility very seriously for making sure of the health and well-being of our staff, which is why we have these reports come to council. So thank you very much. Every worker has the right to return home safely at the end of the day. So thank you very much for and your team for all the great work that you are doing in this space. I just had a couple of questions, if that's all right, Mr Mayor. One of them is on page 286 and table number, anyway, the table named injuries by directorate. I just was wanting to confirm the corporate services, because I was like looking at it thinking, corporate services, aren't they all usually indoor workers? But then I realised that probably is inclusive of the sale yards and the airport as well. Is that area, or they're in a different area?
Thank you for that question around the graph there. So the customer and commercial services would reflect the sale yards, that area there, and the corporate services. So yes, that's majority indoor workers, but definitely if I look at that from a work group, go, okay, well, they're reporting. So if there was no reporting, that might be another glimpse. And yes, they actually have had one LTI too. So it can be surprising. And, there's a number of matters that lead to, rather than blame, but learning how we can make sure those ones aren't repeated, particularly that LTI there. And thank you to Gay. Obviously, in all of your talking, and I think the CEO alluded to it as well, it was very obvious that there was an increase in reporting, and it was interesting that you reported about a decrease in claims. So you can see that one's offsetting the other, which is a great indication that there's a safety conscious culture being built within the organisation, and that was another point I wanted to make sure that you guys are thanked for all the work you do, and all the staff taking responsibility for themselves and their colleagues as well. Thank you very much, and for all the great work you're doing. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Moriarty. I would say this is safety metrics are a demonstration of when the system and operational are working together, and this is as much as I'm proud of the safety team, this happens when operations encourage the reporting, encourage the care, and it really demonstrates a team approach from all leaders and all people in CHRC. So hopefully it can progress, but it's a big thanks to everyone who wears the shirt.
Thanks, Guy. Councillor Brillica.
Same graph. Sorry, Gay.
Yeah.
I notice the community's reporting is up, particularly in relation to the likes of infrastructure and utilities. But at the same time, utilities and corporate services, the couple red lines there. Why is communities so high? And then I thought about it, probably because you've got ranges in amongst that. And as well as the waste as well. So I was just trying to understand why that graph was higher compared to the likes of infrastructure and utilities. So.
Look, through the chair, I suppose you could read it a number of different ways. One is you could read it as, you've more unsafe practices, if you would like, but I read this as part of our maturity and our journey. Through Gay's team and her leadership, and certainly through leadership in my teams, there is a much better understanding and appreciation for reporting, especially with incidents. And I know Gay's team has been pushing that a lot, and it's commendable. There's no doubt about that. So for me, I'm actually pleased to see that we're probably getting to a point now across all directorates where we're getting to more of probably a realistic reporting figure. And not to say that I want to see those incidents occurring, but certainly our mission now would be to identify and really hone in on what those incidents are, or those accidents, injuries, whatever it may be, and then you can really start to drive those down. But until you get the reporting occurring, it's very hard to then tailor your approach. So for me, Councillor Brindlecombe, I'm seeing this as part of a good part of our safety maturity journey.
I was just showing up, and it's interesting in communities that it's higher. And I'm sorry, Jason, but you're more the outside person. I would expect that reporting to be also coming up as well. So, thank you.
Question, Charlie. Thanks, Charlie. Councillor Moriarty.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. And I meant to say to obviously wish everybody who speedy recoveries as well, that we're thinking of them. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Gay. Councillors, thank you for your questions, and thank you for that report, Gay. Yeah, appreciate it. The recommendation is there that we receive that quarterly safety and wellness update for period April to June 22, and the report on the full year for period ending 30 June 2022. So Councillor Moriarty has moved that. Councillor Curtis seconded that. She was ready for that, I could see. So councillors, it's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Councillor Curtis is indicating she's voting in favour. Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Guy. Councillors, they are all our agenda items. Is there any general business that councillors want to raise before we close the meeting? There are no closed session items. Natalie, yeah, Councillor Curtis. Thanks, Joe.
Are we in general business now?
We are, Councillor Curtis here.
Yeah. I just wanted to say big congratulations to the QCWA, 100 years tomorrow. The important work that they have done for Queenslanders and sister branches in the rest of Australia should not go unnoticed.
Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Your video's just frozen there, but certainly audio is recorded, so no, inappropriately. And I think there are a number of usual annualised events that certainly councillors are participating in, but there might be an opportunity for us to more formally acknowledge the QCWA, given not only are they an important organisation in the region for a long time, but certainly there are neighbours here where we live in lots of cases. So we'll certainly make sure that's acknowledged. But thank you very much for doing that, Councillor Curtis. I suspect as a member and a participating member for some time as well. So any other business, councillors? All right, well, if there's no further business, I'll declare the meeting closed at 11:59 a.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, officers. Thank you, acting general managers, and for all your work and obviously keeping this great organisation going. Thank you.